Here we go. We're back. We're live with the pod, Hole in the Soul, where we get to talk about things that hopefully give you a different perspective on life, how to live it, how to train for it, how to do it. I'm your co-host, Kevin Oldham. I've got Jose here. Let's just hop right in, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good today.
Are you feeling fresh from your spring break?
Feeling not just that, clarity around stuff, and having clarity makes me feel good.
Yeah, I'll bet. How were the waves? Did you get a lot of surfing done?
I did, actually. The waves were good. I was actually blessed. Yeah. We had good wind and good waves, which was not common for a spring break.
Yeah. Good for you, man. Good for you. Was the family happy too?
They were.
Sometimes you go on spring break. Like, we're leaving tomorrow. We're going to the beach tomorrow in Florida, and sometimes your spring breaks are awesome, and sometimes your trips can be rough. Every once in a while you come back and you need a vacation from vacation.
Well, my teenager usually makes some rough. I hope she doesn't listen to this, but she didn't. She didn't make it rough this time. But
nice.
I remember one time we went to a very, very high-end, very nice. No, wait a minute. It wasn't like that. We took a trip to Chicago. And she wanted to be in a beach here called Pochomil. But Pochomil is I can't give you the two comparisons here, but we're taking you to Chicago.
Nothing to compare it to.
We're taking you to Chicago. We're gonna go see the city. We're gonna go see my sister, and you want to go to Pochomil? This is crazy. And she was not happy traveling with us. She wanted to be in the trashiest beach I can think of in Nicaragua.
I get that because there was a story. We talk about our family members that listen. I'm pretty sure Dale Oldham listens, my dad. And there was a time that we were in France. The only time I've actually been to Europe. Unfortunately, my parents took me and my brother at the wrong time. I was 15. A total asshole.
You didn't want to go to Europe.
And I don't know what my brother's issue was because he's 7 years older than me. So he was, 21, 22. I don't know what his defense is, but I remember being at the foot of the Eiffel Tower and not wanting to go up it. Wow. What the hell? Yeah. Seriously. What's wrong with me, right?
Where did you want to be?
Yeah. Not going up the Eiffel Tower, apparently. I don't know. It was weird.
The equivalent of Pochomil.
Yeah, whatever it was, I wanted to be back home partying with my friend. I don't know what I wanted to be doing, but it wasn't that. And it was super lame, in my opinion. So anyway, I don't know. Yeah. Whatever. I get it. I think we were all like that at some point when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
Now, what's good about this is you've been training for 20 years to be able to navigate what is going to be today's topic, which is our window of tolerance.
Window of tolerance.
Our window of tolerance. Isn't that an official, is it an official term somewhere? If I go Google window of tolerance, what's your understanding of it? And then let's go find out what the interweb says. But what would you say somebody's window of tolerance is?
I just asked a group of clients. I was working online with a garage door company, and I asked that same question. Window of tolerance, what do you guys think that is? And one of them just was how much shit I can take.
It's not a bad way to put it.
Not a bad way to put it. That's basically it. It's how much we can
take. As long as you say good shit and bad shit, because it's just shit, right? So it's hey, as long as if I can handle a lot of good shit and a lot of bad shit, I got it.
But the window of tolerance the window of tolerance is a formal term in psychology. First time I heard it was, I think it was coined by a doctor named Dan Siegel. And I recommend his books. His books are awesome. He's got one called Parenting from the Inside Out. He has one called Mindsight. I think it's called Mindsight. But he's amazing. And he has that term. He coined that term, the window of tolerance. It's that space, that range where we can take stuff from life. VUCA, which is the term, I connect it to my term. VUCA, it's not much VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity we can take without breaking, staying in an optimal state. being able to connect with others, to contribute, to relate, to find solutions, to be optimal, to be effective. That's your window of tolerance.
It's your window of tolerance. Yeah.
Did you Google it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I did Google it, and basically spot on. Like, I'm going to do something here. At least I think I am. Probably won't. It's going to try and pull up a graphic, but it's not going to work that great, but that's okay. But the way I explain it, I'm like, hey, I still have high highs and I still have low lows. I just don't let them take me as high or as low as they used to emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Something really good happens. Sure. It's awesome. Hey, that's great. Something really bad happens. Okay. That's suboptimal. But I'm not going to let it put me in the ditch, as I like to say.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you know this about me, Jose. Everybody who knows me closely knows that there's about 2 days a year that I do get in the ditch, and I know what my reset is. I go home and I take a nap, and I wake up. It doesn't matter if that nap is at 10 in the morning or 5 o'clock p.m. I take the nap, wake up, reset. That's how I get myself out of the ditch. And I'm good for it like twice a year.
Yeah. So it's important. I mean, I like that you brought up this topic because it is one is when we're aware, one is being aware that we have this window of tolerance. And this tolerance it's chipped away during the day. It gets narrower as we go through the day. So it's very important to know where my tolerance is right now. How much can I take right now? How optimal am I at dealing with stuff right now? So that self-awareness is critical. When I feel my window is narrow, I can tell my kids, I literally tell them my window of tolerance right now is very narrow. So please don't F with me at the current moment. I beg you.
Yeah.
For your own good, don't push it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other thing I've seen is, in regards to being aware of it, is Brene Brown. I remember she made a video where her and her partner, her husband, actually communicate with each other in this way. Like they get home and they're like, so where are you at on a scale from 1 to 10? And she might say,
I love that.
Yeah. She's like, I'm at an 8. He's like, well, I'm at a 3. So you deal with the shit that the kids bring in or whatever. You deal with the dog.
I love it.
Deal with the poop.
Yeah.
So you can communicate, we can communicate in reference to where I'm at in regards to my window of tolerance. So one is being aware that we have this and that we can actually be aware of, where does it stand right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got this window of tolerance. You guys can go Google it. I mean, I'm just going to say anytime that there's like a psychological concept or something like that, go find something that ends in .edu online and read about that. We're not a psychiatrist. We're not psychologists, but we have used these terminologies to help people understand things. Yeah. And then furthermore, how they can train to expand their window of tolerance. So what are some ways that somebody can, from your coaching perspective, expand their window of tolerance, be able to handle more stuff? And boy, should there be an easier question for you ever asked on this podcast than this, Jose?
Yes.
How does somebody expand their window of tolerance? Hey, use the VUCA Fit methodology. Okay, great. That's a wrap. Have a good day.
Yeah. Go learn what we teach. Go to our webpage. Go train. But I would start first. How do we optimize? We already have, expanding. We can optimize. We can first optimize what we already have. And in my talks, I usually say there are 3 ways to optimize the tolerance that you already have. What's already your low hanging fruit. One is the number 1 self-care practice in all of self-care practice. I mean, number 1, can't beat this thing. Good sleep.
Sleep. Good sleep. I knew you were going to say sleep.
Good sleep. Yes. Well, just think about
sleep.
Who's tolerant to shit? Who hasn't slept? I mean, if you haven't slept, you're not gonna be able to deal with stuff. You cannot outperform poor sleep. There's no way you can outperform poor sleep. So you got to get your sleep right. And obviously there's a whole world of how to get your sleep right. I know you've been working with that for quite a while now. How's it going?
Actually, what's going great? And I feel like it's something I want to share with people because it has been a huge unlock for me. And it has been a chronic issue for almost a decade that I finally tamed. And I'm going to shamelessly plug a product that has helped me with that. So my journey with sleep has not been optimal as an entrepreneur. Let me just put it that way. And I'm in my 9th year of running businesses. And so let's just say it's been a decade-long issue. And there used to be and I still have some issues. I mean, I still struggle with some things, but sleep is not one of them. And really the thing that helped me was this little Whoop band, this fitness tracker. I wasn't willing to wear my Apple Watch at night because I like to wear it during the day. So I got something that helped me quantify and get insights into my sleep. And then that whole saying, what gets measured gets managed. And I respond well to gamification and apps. So, I've showed you guys my Streaks app, which helps with habit building. And Whoop has a phenomenal app that gives you insights into your sleep cycles and your quality of sleep and how much REM sleep you got. And it's been the key to me getting my sleep dialed in. I just don't know how else to say it. That plus, I also have an important hire at my marketing company, as well as our show producer for the show, Jesse, my assistant, who has helped relieve some of my anxiety around things that could be stacking up at the office and things like that by, checking my email and things like that. And a combination of those things has helped me just be able to sleep better. And I prioritized it.
Yeah.
I made it a priority as well. I said, I'm going to focus on this.
It's got to be a priority.
This is important. Yeah. I mean, but for so many years, I use the BS entrepreneur, self-talk where, hey, I'll sleep when I'm dead, live fast, have a good dying corpse, or, live fast, have a good corpse when you die. All that macho / hustle culture bullshit.
Yeah.
And it is bullshit. It's just bullshit. It's there's short periods of time you can do that stuff, but long term, no. I think the only person who can do it is Elon Musk, and his quality of life outside of work is questionable.
Yeah. So I love and I promote good sleep, and I will not sacrifice good sleep for over preparation. Like if I have an event the next day, I'd rather have good sleep than over prepare, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So window tolerance, optimizing good sleep, number one practice from my own understanding. 2, good eat. We've all heard the term hangry. That we've also, I had a client that was doing a long fast, and he could tell how irritable he was with, he was going to bite his kid's head off. But he was so aware that he was going through that he was regulating himself consciously. But so one thing I forgot to mention about the window of tolerance is that when we break outside of it, we can break on 2 sides. One side is the side of chaos. It's when we lash out, act like jerks, road rage, fight, yell, lash out.
Stop traffic, make everybody wait for traffic because the bus rubbed your tire.
Yeah, I don't know why you're going to get arrested over in the U.S. doing that, Kevin. Shouldn't be doing that, man. So on the other side is being lethargic. Is depression, is procrastination, is not moving, not taking action. So you got so much shit to do, you'd rather lay down on the couch and suck your thumb. Yeah. That would be breaking on the side of being lethargic. So when we fall out of our window of tolerance, we can fall on the side of being lethargic or chaotic and being overreactive.
Yeah.
So imagine good sleep being optimal for that. Eating well, eating right, eating like overeating makes you lethargic for sure. Like you're not optimal after overeating.
Yeah.
There's a rule I learned from Andrew Huberman that fill 70% what you calculate to be 70% of your stomach when you eat. and it won't give you that crash.
Yeah.
And the last one is good movement, exercise, but not just exercise, but getting out of your chair, stretching, moving, not being so like, what do you call it when you don't move a lot, when you're sedentary?
Sedentary.
Yeah. Yep. So move around, shake it off once in a while throughout the day. Like good movement, good eating, good sleeping. Well,
that's it.
Just to be optimal.
I mean, that just sounds like in other words, that sounds like taking care of yourself. So if you're in a season of, hey, I've got a new child, right? Your sleep's going to be deprived. Be aware that your window of tolerance may be narrowed.
Shot.
You may react more, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you're making a sprint at work and your sleep's whacked, or you're finding yourself sitting a lot, or whatever it is. Just be aware of times that your conditions change, because when your conditions change, your window of tolerance may very well change as well. And you've probably seen that if you're real honest with yourself. If you think back, hey, when was the last time I was sleep deprived, like chronically for a period of time, or wasn't taking care of my diet or whatever, chances are you can reflect back and think about times maybe you flew off the handle with your anger, or maybe you were sad and you let it take you down further than usual or whatever, and know that there's no magic pill. It's just take good care of yourself. Sleep, eat, move, sleep, eat, move.
Pretty basic. And be aware. An awareness of it.
Be aware. No, I think that's the biggest thing. It's being aware.
Yeah.
Right.
That's probably going to be the biggest thing in anything we do. If you're not aware, that's it. It's over. The conversation's over. If there ain't awareness, we're not talking about anything. We're not getting anywhere. But But then we can talk. So that's about optimizing. But then we can talk about expanding it with this, which is what you mentioned at the beginning. Okay, so if I have a 4x4 window of tolerance, how can I expand it to a 10x10 window of tolerance? Like, how can I expand my window of tolerance permanently so that I am capable of taking more on from life without breaking on either side? And that's where training comes in. I mean, we did an episode on training, but there's actually, I usually talk about two elements here to expanding our window of tolerance. One of them is psychological. So we got to have we got to have mental health. Mm-hmm. We got to be mentally well.
What does that mean?
Well, we've talked about addiction. We talked about addiction.
Yeah.
We there's probably depression, addiction, trauma. If you look at that graph, you were probably going to show a graph.
It was trauma. Yeah.
That there was trauma was talked about on that graph that you were going to show it. I'm assuming. Yep.
There was a child psychology document from like the state of New Jersey. That's why I didn't show it. Like, yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Trauma will break you immediately. So we need to get our head checked. We need to get our trauma. We need to get our shadow. We need to do the work with therapists, psychologists, coaches, witch doctors. I don't know, whatever you prefer.
Whatever it is whatever floats your boat, right?
Ayahuasca ceremony, MDMA therapy, whatever therapy
get your head right.
Get your head right. Get it. Overcome those limiting traumas, addictions, shadow. This is where I always speak to men and say, men are the least to look for help to get their head right. We are the ones that break the worst, because when we break, we cause damage. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. It's rarely, I don't want to say it, but here in the United States, when you think about all the most horrific crimes, it's rarely females committing them.
Yeah.
It's rarely females. It's usually dudes doing stuff. I mean, I don't know of any females that have done school shootings. I think it's all been males. I mean, you think about, people who break, right? Like extreme cases of breaking, mental health issues, things like that. So yeah, man, it's like, if you're a guy, you definitely need to watch this stuff.
Yeah. Gabor Mate, he's an expert on trauma. I think it was his book, or maybe it was Paul Conti's book. I think Paul Conti is another doctor on trauma, who says if you walk into an ER, he can attribute most ER cases to trauma. Most visits to the ER are rooted in trauma. I mean, that's a big statement, but that's what he says in his book. It's usually violence. It's usually addiction. It's usually a car accident where somebody was drunk. It's usually something. Yeah. If you go into the ER, most things can be rooted in some sort of trauma. That's his statement. So if you want to expand your window of tolerance, you got to go work on your traumas. You got to work on healing what's hurting you. Addiction, seeking help for addiction. Why? Because it doesn't matter what you do. If you learn breath work, if you learn meditation, if you learn ice baths, if you got all these practices, it doesn't matter. You will not overcome trauma. You will not outperform what you don't face. In breath work, they say you can't outbreathe what you don't face. So you will immediately break when your trauma is touched. You can be well fed, well slept, well moved, well trained, optimal. You can be biohacking, and somebody touches that wound, and you break,
explode.
You explode.
Yeah.
You can't out succeed, outsell, out build your bank account. You can't out be successful. You cannot outdo what you don't face in that term.
Right.
So, yeah,
makes sense. Yeah. What are other blind spots that people need to think about when you think about your window of tolerance? First of all, many people listening to this have probably never heard that terminology. So, hey, here's some new terminology that you can carry around. Go Google it, read about it. You're going to find out. But then we got these 3 instruments to train. What about CO2 tolerance? Let's talk about that. Does that help people?
So that would be the next. I said that one is psychological to expand. One is psychological, getting your head checked, working on your traumas, working on your shadow. You're not going to outlive. You're not going to outdo what you don't face. It's going to catch up with you at one point or another. So that's one way. The other, I say, is physiological. So when we talk about physiology, it's that I might do all the work with my therapist, but my nervous system might still be frail. It might still be fragile. So I'm overly reactive, I'm overly anxious and overly moving and jittery and pleasing. I'm quick to please. So physiologically is a lot of my, the method Unbreakable and the VUCA Fit method is working with the physiology, starting with that term that you just mentioned is CO2 tolerance.
Yeah.
CO2 tolerance is just how well my body tolerates the buildup of CO2 in my blood. And what's been found is that, and you can Google this also, people can Google CO2 tolerance and stress and anxiety. So what they found is that the higher your CO2 tolerance, in other words, the better you tolerate CO2 in your blood, the higher your ability to manage stress and anxiety. So the wider your window of tolerance. So your physiological CO2 tolerance is correlated to your psychological window of tolerance. And so
that's crazy.
I actually asked Andrew Huberman. Andrew Huberman at one point was not so famous, and I was already following him, where he would answer my chats with voice notes.
I know. I remember that. Yeah. I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I actually asked him this. This is something that I deduced for myself by learning about CO2 tolerance, learning about the window of tolerance. And then I'm like, would it be fair to say that my CO2 tolerance will have an impact on my psychological window of tolerance? I'm pretty sure it was Huberman. It might have been Brian McKenzie, another guy that studies human performance, that actually came back with an answer. He's like, yeah, that's fair to say. That your window of tolerance
correlation
and your CO2 tolerance are correlated. So we do stuff. How do we build our CO2 tolerance? Is people who, it's becoming more adapted to being comfortable with the discomfort. And listen to that. It's being comfortable with the discomfort that CO2 builds in your system. What does that mean? That the buildup of CO2, you're never going to get comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. You're going to get comfortable with the discomfort. So most people, when they start feeling the discomfort of CO2 in their body, they freak out, they panic, and they immediately breathe and think, oh my God, that's terrible. The people who train to become comfortable with the discomfort can actually tolerate CO2 buildup until they pass out. Wow. So they actually don't. And we got to say here that never do this underwater.
Don't do it. This stuff.
Yes. No breath holding underwater. But how do you build tolerance to CO2? Is you use what they call hunger for air. Exercises that create hunger for air, which is basically breath holding, not breathing enough, breathing so slowly that you don't, anything that builds up the CO2 in your system will create that adaptation to CO2.
Right. That's crazy.
It is.
Anything else like that we should, as I'm like over here Googling this stuff, you're going to find that there's a lot of people, people are going to say, hey, how to increase CO2 tolerance and reduce anxiety, best way to increase CO2 tolerance and how many months till I see results. Lots of people talking about it on Reddit, lots of athletes talking about it as well. I'm sure that if, there's also people in psychology talking about it. So it's just kind of like, it's one of those really cool things that you can start playing with and experimenting with. And then all you need to measure it is a stopwatch. That's it. Everybody's got it on their phone, a timing device on their phone. People also do this and they're training for climbing mountains and altitude and things like that. Mostly a lot of what I'm seeing online is around performance, being able not to, as I like to say, blow a gasket when the poop hits the fan.
Well, you're right. A lot of it is around performance.
Yeah.
I'm bridging this into leadership, into life. You'll see it around athletes and in athletics. I'm trying to promote this in just everyday life.
Yeah.
Being a father,
absolutely.
Building your CO2 tolerance so you can be a better father.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, whatever your role in life is. Anything else you want to talk about related to this one? CO2 tolerance and window tolerance and expansion?
Just how hopeful, there's hope. People love hearing that they can build their ability to manage stress and anxiety through physiology. It's not just ideas. It's not just head. It's not just in the mind. And it's also in the body. It's not just
popping a pill. It's also not just popping a pill. There's other ways to get there, right? You don't have to go the pharma route, at least in the States. You go to a doctor, you say, I've got anxiety in the United States. They're going to give you, Xanax or something like that. They're not going to say, unless you go to my doctor or somebody who's functional, they're not going to say, hey, let's look at your diet. Let's look at your sleep. Let's look at all these other myriad of issues that could impact it, right? Physiology.
I think our book is going to be a good source, a good guide to all these things.
When's the book going to be done? I know I still got the drawings to do. We're about halfway through the editing process, I think. I saw chapter 5 is coming back from our publisher. Yeah. Hopefully come out this year. I think it'll come out this year.
It'll come out this year for sure.
You think so? Sure. You think so? I was thinking about a title for it. Because we already have a shirt that says it. I was thinking the title should be VUCA Trained or VUCA Fucked. But I don't know.
Yeah,
it's pretty provocative. Then the artwork's already done too. I'm like, you just put it on there.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect title.
I think it is too. It's controversial. The book's not controversial. The book's yeah.
And it goes back to the window of tolerance. You have a good wide window of tolerance, or you're gonna get breaking, you're gonna get fucked. So let me see. Window of tolerance is that range that you can tolerate what life offers you. Be aware of it. Know that it gets checked, gets chipped away at during the day, gets narrower. You can replenish it. You can optimize it by good self-care, taking care of yourself. And then you can expand it through training. The best way to expand it through training is, one is psychological. It's working on your psychology and your mindset, working with psychologists, treating and healing your traumas. The other is basically using stress. The other is the episode that we did on training, using stress to build your ability to manage stress intentionally. Ice baths, breath holding, fasting. These things are going to put you on your edge, but they're not the full answer if you don't do your mindset. If you don't do psychology, if you don't get your mind right, these practices aren't going to do it for you. It's got to be a complete, whole approach of self-care, getting your mind right.
It's integrated. It's integrated.
It's all integrated. That's what the VUCA Fit method is. It's an integrated approach to all of this.
It's an approach to life.
Yeah.
It's an integrated approach to life. Throw some guardrails on this thing so you're not going crazy and, effing up.
So there you go.
Anything else?
That's the window of tolerance.
Besides your shirt that says Warrior Up, which, by the way, I think is a great shirt for recording day. Warrior Up.
Warrior Up.
Well, I think that's it from this conversation. Yeah.
Sorry?
Wrap it. Next one we're going to talk about, next conversation's going to tie into this. It's going to be about taking out the head trash. What do we do with it? Various ways to process it, and also make it so it doesn't take us down. So until next week, we greatly appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate the comments, the thumbs up, the subscribes, the reviews, all of it. Deeply appreciate your support. Until next time, I'm your host, Kevin Oldham, my co-host, Jose Bolaños. We wish you a phenomenal week and be well.